Why did my children suddenly demand the keys to the mountain house after months of silence? They said I was dramatic, said they were too busy for me. What they didn't know was that the moment they sent that message, I quietly changed something that could never be undone. As the story unfolds, take a moment to like, hit the hype button, subscribe, and write in the comments. Would you forgive them or walk away? I sat at my kitchen table, phone in hand, staring at the words on the screen. The family group chat glowed with their dismissiveness. Calvin had typed first, "Dad, we're all swamped. Can't deal with your drama right now." Noah added a quick agreement. Lydia's message came last, sharp and final. "Honestly, you're too much sometimes." Too much. That's what I'd become to them. The apartment was quiet. It had been quiet for months, really. Ever since my wife passed 3 years ago, the silence had grown thicker, heavier. But this silence felt different. This one had weight, purpose. I set the phone down and looked around the small kitchen. The walls were the color of old paper, the counters clean but worn. I'd lived here for 6 years, downsizing after retirement from the airline. 32 years as a flight engineer, and this was where it led. A modest 2-bedroom with cheap blinds and a dripping faucet I kept meaning to fix. The mountain house wasn't like this. The mountain house was beautiful. I'd bought it with my retirement bonus, a small cabin tucked into the Appalachian foothills. 2 bedrooms, stone fireplace, wraparound porch. I'd imagined my children visiting, bringing grandchildren someday. I'd imagined Sunday dinners and holiday gatherings. Instead, they called it ours. Never yours, always ours. When can we use the mountain house? We're planning a trip to the mountain house. Is the mountain house available next month? They never asked. They informed. I picked up my phone again and scrolled through the chat history. 6 months of messages, most from me. Hope you're doing well. Thinking of you. Would love to catch up. Their responses were sparse. Single words, emojis, excuses. Then, 2 hours ago, everything changed. Calvin. "Hey Dad, we need the keys to the mountain house. Planning a family weekend." Noah. "Yeah, all 3 of us want to go up there. Can you drop them off?" Lydia. "We'll take good care of it, promise." No greeting. No, "How are you?" Just demands wrapped in casual entitlement. I'd responded carefully. "I'd like to talk about this first. Can we meet for coffee?" That's when the tone shifted. Calvin. "It's not that serious, Dad. Just need the keys." Noah. "Why do we need a whole meeting? It's just a weekend." Lydia. "This is exactly what we're talking about. You make everything dramatic." I'd tried once more. "I just want to discuss some things about the property." Calvin. "Dad, we're all swamped. Can't deal with your drama right now." And then the rest. The dismissal. The erasure. I set the phone face down on the table and felt something shift inside my chest. Not anger, not sadness, something colder, something final. I stood and walked to my home office, a converted 2nd bedroom lined with bookshelves. Aviation manuals filled one wall, spines faded from years of use. I'd always been methodical, disciplined. You had to be in my line of work. One miscalculation at 30,000 feet could end lives. I opened the filing cabinet and pulled out a folder labeled Estate Planning. Inside were documents I'd organized years ago, my will, property deeds, insurance policies, everything neat, everything in order. The mountain house deed sat on top. I'd paid cash for it, my name alone on the title. Asher Mercer, sole owner. I sat down at my desk and opened my laptop. My calendar showed a reminder I'd set months ago. Annual will review, due next week. I'd been putting it off. Not anymore. I pulled up my contact list and found Harold Keene's number. Harold had been my attorney for 15 years, handling my wife's estate after she passed. He was thorough, discreet, and he understood the importance of precision. I typed a message. "Harold, need to schedule an appointment. Estate updates, soon as possible." His response came within minutes. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., my office. I confirmed and closed the laptop. The apartment was still silent, but now the silence felt like clarity. I walked back to the kitchen and picked up my phone. The family chat showed no new messages. They'd said their piece and moved on. I thought about calling them, explaining, defending myself. Instead, I opened my phone settings and turned off all notifications from the group chat. The screen went dark. I felt nothing but calm. The next morning, I woke before dawn. Old habits from years of early flights. I made coffee in the small kitchen, standing by the window as gray light crept across the city. The streets below were empty, quiet. I thought about how it had started. The slow drift. The casual neglect. It hadn't always been this way. When my wife was alive, the children called every week. They visited on holidays. We had traditions, Christmas at our old house, Thanksgiving potlucks, summer barbecues. But after she passed, something broke. At first, I understood. Grief takes people differently. I gave them space, but space became distance. Distance became absence. I'd helped Calvin with his real estate license fees. $10,000, paid without hesitation. He'd promised to pay me back. Never did. Never mentioned it again. I'd covered Noah's startup costs when his tech company needed capital. $15,000. He'd said it was a loan. Then he stopped answering my calls about it. Lydia needed a new car after her influencer career took off. I co-signed. She totaled it 6 months later and bought another without telling me. I found out when the insurance company called. $35,000 total. Gone. I never asked for the money back. I just wanted them to acknowledge it, to say thank you, to show they remembered. They didn't. The mountain house became the symbol of everything wrong. I'd bought it as a family retreat, a place where we could reconnect. Instead, they treated it like a vacation rental they didn't have to pay for. We're bringing friends up this weekend. Can we have the keys for a month? We want to Airbnb it. You're not using it anyway, right? I'd said no to the Airbnb idea. That had started the first real argument. Calvin had called me controlling. Noah said I was being selfish. Lydia posted a vague complaint on social media about family who hoard resources. I'd tried to explain that it wasn't about control. It was about respect, about being asked instead of told. They stopped listening. I finished my coffee and got dressed. Simple clothes, khakis, button-down shirt, light jacket. I checked the folder in my briefcase twice, making sure everything was in order. Harold's office was downtown, in an old brick building with narrow hallways and creaking floors. I arrived 10 minutes early and sat in the waiting room, watching the clock. At exactly 9, Harold opened his door. He was tall and thin, silver hair combed back, reading glasses on a chain around his neck. He'd practiced law for 40 years and had the careful, measured demeanor of someone who'd seen every kind of family dispute. "Asher," he said, shaking my hand. "Come in." His office smelled like old books and coffee. The desk was mahogany, the chairs leather and worn. Framed degrees lined one wall. A window overlooked the street below. I sat down and placed the folder on his desk. "Thank you for seeing me on short notice," I said. Harold settled into his chair and folded his hands. "Your message suggested urgency. What's going on?" I told him everything. The years of financial support, the dismissiveness, the constant demands, the group chat messages from yesterday. Harold listened without interrupting. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "What do you want to do?" he asked. "I want to update my will," I said, specifically regarding the mountain property. Harold opened the folder and reviewed the documents inside. He read slowly, making notes on a legal pad. "Currently," he said, "your will splits everything equally among your 3 children. The mountain house, your retirement accounts, life insurance, personal assets, standard arrangement." "I want to change it," I said. "To what?" I'd thought about this all night, played out different scenarios, considered every angle. I want the mountain house removed from their inheritance entirely, I said. I want it set up so that upon my passing, the property goes to a wildlife conservation trust. Permanent preservation. No development, no sale, no access. Harold looked up from his notes. That's a significant change. I know. And your other assets? Those can stay as planned, divided equally. But the house, that's off the table. Harold set down his pen. Asher, I need to ask. Is this about punishment or protection? Both, I said. They see that property as theirs already. They've made plans for it. They talk about selling it, developing it, profiting from it. They don't see it as mine. They see it as an inheritance they're owed. And you disagree. I do. I leaned forward. Harold, I bought that house for family, for connection, for memories. They've turned it into a commodity. So if that's what they want, they can't have it at all. Harold was quiet again, studying me. Then he nodded. I'll draw up the paperwork, he said. But I want you to think about this for 24 hours. Make sure it's what you want. This kind of decision is permanent. I've already thought about it, I said. Then think about it again, Harold said, his voice gentle but firm. Family estrangements are painful. I've seen them destroy people. I want to make sure you're certain. I stood and extended my hand. I'll call you tomorrow, but my answer won't change. Harold shook my hand and walked me to the door. As I left, he said, Asher, one more thing. I turned. If you do this, he said, there's no going back. Once that property is locked into a trust, even you won't be able to reverse it. The conservation group will own it permanently. Your children will know, and they won't forgive you. I know, I said. I walked out into the cold morning air and felt the weight of the decision settle over me. It felt right. That afternoon, I drove to the mountain house. It was a 2-hour trip from the city, winding roads that cut through dense forest and steep hillsides. I'd made the drive 100 times, but today it felt different. The house appeared through the trees like a secret. Stone chimney, cedar siding, metal roof weathered to soft gray. The porch wrapped around 3 sides, railings worn smooth from years of use. I parked in the gravel driveway and sat for a moment, engine ticking as it cooled. This place was supposed to be a sanctuary. I got out and unlocked the front door. Inside, everything was exactly as I'd left it. Furniture covered with sheets, floors swept clean, windows locked tight. I walked through each room slowly, running my hand along the walls. The living room had a massive stone fireplace I'd never used. The kitchen was small but functional, with a view of the valley through the window above the sink. 2 bedrooms upstairs, both sparse and quiet. I'd imagined filling this place with life. Instead, it sat empty. My phone buzzed, the family chat. I'd turned off notifications, but messages still came through. I opened it. Calvin. Dad, seriously, we need an answer about the keys. We're planning this trip. Noah. Can you just drop them at Calvin's office? Lydia. Why is this so complicated? I typed a response. Let's talk in person, all of us, this weekend. The replies came fast. Calvin. We don't have time for a meeting. Noah. Can't you just say yes or no? Lydia. This is exhausting. I stared at the messages, feeling that cold clarity again. I typed, then the answer is no. I watched the 3 dots appear and disappear as they typed and deleted responses. Finally, Calvin sent, fine, we'll figure it out ourselves. I pocketed my phone and walked to the small shed behind the house. Inside, tools hung on pegboard walls, everything organized and labeled. I found the key cabinet, a small metal box I'd installed years ago. 6 keys total. Front door, back door, shed, garage, gate, master bedroom. each one labeled and logged in a small notebook I kept inside the cabinet. I took out the notebook and flipped through it. Every time I'd given someone access, I'd written it down. Dates, names, purposes. The last entry was from 8 months ago. Calvin borrowing keys for a quick weekend getaway that had turned into 2 weeks. He'd returned them without comment. I closed the notebook and locked the cabinet. Then I pulled out my phone and called Evan Holt, the local caretaker who checked on the property when I wasn't here. Evan answered on the second ring. "Asher, hey, everything okay?" "Need to ask a favor," I said. "Starting today, no one gets access to this property without my explicit permission. Not family, not friends, no one." There was a pause. "Everything all right?" "Just need to make some changes," I said. "Can you do that?" "Sure," Evan said. "I'll make a note. You want me to change the locks?" I hadn't thought of that. "Yes," I said. "This week, if possible." "I'll get it done," Evan said. "New keys to your apartment?" "That works." We hung up, and I stood in the shed for a long moment. The decision was made. No turning back now. I locked up the property and drove back to the city, watching the mountain house disappear in my rearview mirror. The next morning, I called Harold. "I'm certain," I said. He didn't argue. "Come by this afternoon. I'll have the documents ready." At 3 o'clock, I sat in his office again, reading through page after page of legal language. Harold explained each section carefully. "This clause transfers ownership of the mountain property to the Appalachian Conservation Trust upon your passing. The trust will maintain it as a wildlife preserve. No commercial development, no residential access, no sale. And my children? They're removed as beneficiaries for that specific asset. Your retirement accounts and other holdings remain split equally among them. But the house is no longer part of their inheritance." I signed my name on the designated lines. Harold witnessed and notarized each signature. When we finished, he placed the documents in a sealed envelope. "This is binding," he said. "The moment you sign, it's done." "I understand." Harold studied me for a moment. "Are you going to tell them?" "Not yet," I said. "Let them figure it out on their own." I left his office with a copy of the updated will in my briefcase. The original would stay in Harold's secure files. That evening, the family chat lit up again. Calvin: "Dad, we're coming up to the house this weekend, with or without keys." Noah: "We have a right to be there. It's family property." Lydia: "Stop being ridiculous." I read the messages twice. Then I typed, "The property is in my name. You don't have a right to anything." The response was immediate. Calvin: "Are you serious right now?" Noah: "This is insane." Lydia: "We're going anyway. Try and stop us." I set the phone down and called Evan again. "They're planning to come up this weekend," I said. "Uninvited." Evan was quiet for a moment. "You want me there?" "Just keep an eye out," I said. "Don't engage. Just observe." "Understood." I hung up and sat in the darkening apartment, watching the city lights flicker on below. The calmness hadn't left me. If anything, it had deepened. I wasn't angry. I wasn't sad. I was done. The next 3 days passed slowly. I went through my normal routine: morning coffee, reading the paper, afternoon walks. My phone stayed silent except for the occasional group chat message. They were planning, strategizing, assuming I'd back down. They didn't know me at all. Friday afternoon, Calvin posted in the chat, "Leaving for the mountain tomorrow morning. See you there, Dad, or don't." Noah added, "Should be a great weekend." Lydia sent a photo of hiking boots with the caption, "Ready for some quality family time." The irony wasn't lost on me. I didn't respond. Instead, I called Evan. "They're coming tomorrow," I said. "I'll be around," Evan said. "Locks are changed. New keys are in the mail to you." "Thank you." Saturday morning arrived cold and clear. I made coffee and sat by the window, phone in hand. At 9:30, Calvin posted a photo of their car loaded with bags. "On our way!" I watched the messages scroll past, their excitement, their confidence. At 11:15, my phone rang. Calvin. I let it go to voicemail. He called again, then Noah, then Lydia, all voicemails. At noon, Calvin sent a message. Dad, the keys don't work. Noah, did you change the locks? Lydia, what is wrong with you? I typed a single sentence. I told you not to come. Calvin called again. This time I answered. What the hell, Dad? His voice was tight with frustration. We're standing outside in the cold. The keys don't work. I changed the locks, I said calmly. Why would you do that? Because I own the property, and you weren't invited. This is ridiculous, Calvin said. We're family. Then act like it, I said, and hung up. The calls kept coming. I ignored them all. At 1 o'clock, Evan sent me a text. They're trying windows. Want me to call the sheriff? I considered it, then typed back, not yet, just document. Evan sent a photo 15 minutes later, my 3 children standing on the porch, faces tight with anger and confusion. Behind them, the locked door, the windows secured, the house sealed. I saved the photo and set my phone aside. They stayed until 3 o'clock, according to Evan's updates. They knocked. They called. They texted increasingly hostile messages. Finally, Calvin sent, Fine, we'll handle this legally. You can't keep us out forever. I smiled and typed back, Actually, I can. The next week was quiet. My children stopped calling. The group chat went silent. I imagined them huddled together, planning their next move, calling lawyers, researching property rights, convincing themselves they had a case. They didn't. I spent the week organizing my affairs with meticulous care. I removed my children as emergency contacts from all medical records. I updated my bank accounts to remove their names from beneficiary lists, except for the designated inheritance accounts, which would only activate upon my passing. I called my doctor and scheduled a full checkup, requesting documentation of my mental competency. The doctor, a man I'd seen for 12 years, seemed puzzled by the request. Is everything all right, Asher? Just being thorough, I said. He ran the tests, cognitive function, memory, reasoning. I passed everything easily. He signed a letter stating I was of sound mind and body. I added it to the folder with Harold. On Wednesday, I received a certified letter. Calvin had hired an attorney. The letter demanded access to the mountain property, citing family agreement and shared understanding. I called Harold immediately. They're claiming implied ownership, I explained, reading from the letter. Harold chuckled. On what grounds? They say I promised them the property, that I always referred to it as ours. Do you have any written agreements? Any documents showing joint ownership? None. It's entirely in my name. Then they have no case, Harold said. Verbal promises about future inheritance aren't legally binding, and you can change your will at any time for any reason. What should I do? Ignore it, Harold said. Or better yet, respond through me. I'll send them a letter explaining the legal reality. Do it, I said. Harold's letter arrived at Calvin's office 3 days later. I didn't see it, but I saw the results. Calvin called 15 times in 1 hour. Noah left a voicemail. This isn't over, Dad. You can't just cut us out. Lydia posted on social media. Family isn't always who you're born to. Sometimes you have to choose better people. I read her post twice, feeling nothing but that same cold clarity. Better people. As if I was the problem. That weekend, I drove back to the mountain house. The new keys worked perfectly. Inside, everything was untouched. I spent the afternoon on the porch, watching the valley below turn gold in the late sun. My phone buzzed once. A message from Calvin's lawyer requesting a meeting. I deleted it. Monday morning, I received another call from Harold. They're escalating, he said. Calvin's attorney is threatening a lawsuit. For what? Elder manipulation, undue influence, mental incompetency. Harold's voice was dry. Standard tactics when someone's upset about an inheritance. I just saw my doctor last week, I said. Full competency evaluation. I know. I have the paperwork, which is why they won't win. Harold paused. But Asher, they're going to make this ugly. Are you prepared for that? I am, I said. They'll attack your character. They'll claim you're vindictive, irrational, unstable. They'll drag up every family argument, every disagreement. It will be public and painful. Let them, I said. I'm not changing my mind. Harold was quiet for a moment. Then we'll prepare for court. But I want you to know, this will damage your relationship with them permanently. It's already damaged, I said. They just don't know it yet. I hung up and sat in the quiet apartment, thinking about everything that had led to this moment. Years of being taken for granted, years of being treated like an ATM instead of a father, years of watching my children grow into entitled strangers. No, I wasn't changing my mind. The lawsuit was filed 2 weeks later. Calvin, Noah, and Lydia Mercer versus Asher Mercer, contesting the will, demanding shared ownership of the mountain property, claiming financial manipulation. Harold called me the day the papers arrived. It's official, he said. They're taking you to court. When? Preliminary hearing in 6 weeks. But Asher, I need to ask again. Are you absolutely certain about this? I am. Because once we enter that courtroom, there's no reconciliation. This becomes permanent. I looked out the window at the city below, all those lives moving in their separate directions. Harold, I said quietly, it's already permanent. They just don't know it yet. The weeks before the hearing passed in a strange, suspended tension. My children stopped trying to contact me directly. Everything went through lawyers now. Formal letters, legal filings, cold professional language. I spent my days preparing. Harold coached me on courtroom procedure, likely questions, how to present myself. He reviewed every financial transaction from the past 10 years, building our case. They're going to claim you're cutting them off out of spite. Harold explained during one meeting. We need to show a clear pattern of their entitlement and your reasonable response. I showed him the group chat history, years of dismissive messages, demands, casual cruelty. He photographed every screen. This is good, he said. This shows the relationship dynamic clearly. I showed him bank statements. The money I'd given them never repaid. Harold made copies. And you never asked for repayment? I asked once. Calvin told me to stop being petty. Harold added it to the file. We built the case methodically, piece by piece. By the time the hearing date arrived, Harold had a 3-inch binder of documentation. The courthouse was downtown, gray stone building with marble floors and echoing hallways. I arrived early, wearing my best suit, the one I'd bought for my wife's funeral. Harold met me outside the courtroom. Remember, he said, stay calm. Don't react emotionally. Answer questions simply and directly. I nodded. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Wood paneling, fluorescent lights, rows of benches mostly empty. My children sat on the opposite side with their attorney, a sharp-looking woman in an expensive suit. Calvin wouldn't look at me. Noah stared at his phone. Lydia glared openly. The judge entered, an older man with gray hair and tired eyes. We rose, then sat. The proceedings began with opening statements. My children's attorney went first. Your Honor, this case represents a clear example of an elderly parent weaponizing inheritance to punish his children for normal adult boundaries. Mr. Mercer has unilaterally decided to remove his children from any claim to the mountain property, a property they've considered family heritage for years, simply because they couldn't accommodate his constant demands for attention. I kept my face neutral, but inside, something burned. She continued. We'll demonstrate that Mr. Mercer's actions stem from vindictiveness and possible cognitive decline, that he's making irrational decisions that contradict years of family understanding. Harold stood when she finished. Your Honor, this case is actually quite simple. Mr. Mercer owns a property. His children want that property, and they're upset that he won't simply hand it over on demand. He paused. We'll demonstrate that Mr. Mercer is of completely sound mind, that his decisions are legally valid, and that his children have treated him with years of casual dismissiveness and financial exploitation. The judge made notes and looked up. Let's hear testimony. Mr. Mercer, please take the stand. I walked to the witness box and was sworn in. My children's attorney approached immediately. Mr. Mercer, how old are you? 61. And you're retired? Yes, from aircraft engineering. Do you live alone? I do. Are you lonely, Mr. Mercer? I saw where she was going. Sometimes. My wife passed 3 years ago. And your children? Do they visit often? No. Does that upset you? It did, yes. So you decided to punish them by removing their inheritance? Harold objected. The judge sustained it. The attorney tried again. Mr. Mercer, isn't it true that you've always referred to the mountain house as our house, the family house? I may have used that language, I said, but the deed has always been in my name alone. But you created an expectation. I created a hope, I interrupted calmly. I hoped my children would want to spend time there with me. They didn't. They only wanted access, without my presence. She frowned. Isn't that normal? Adult children having independence? Independence isn't the same as dismissiveness, I said. I don't object to their independence. I object to being treated like an obstacle instead of a parent. She pulled out printed messages. These are from your family group chat. Your children say you were being dramatic, that you were demanding too much attention. May I see those? I asked. She handed them to me. I read them slowly. These messages, I said carefully, are from a conversation where I asked to meet for coffee before they took the keys to my property. They called that request dramatic. Isn't it? Is it dramatic to want a conversation before someone uses your home? I looked at the judge. I wasn't demanding attention. I was asking for basic courtesy. The attorney switched tactics. Mr. Mercer, you gave your children substantial financial gifts over the years, correct? Yes. How much total? Approximately $35,000. And you never asked for repayment? I asked once. I was told I was being petty. But these were gifts, correct? Not loans? I thought they were investments in my children's futures, I said. I didn't expect monetary repayment. I expected acknowledgement, gratitude, a relationship. So you're angry they didn't thank you enough? I'm disappointed they didn't remember at all. The questioning continued for another hour. She tried to paint me as bitter, controlling, irrational. I answered every question calmly, precisely, letting the facts speak. Finally, Harold took over for redirect. Mr. Mercer, are you of sound mind? Yes. Do you understand the consequences of your will changes? Completely. And is this decision based on spite, as opposing counsel suggests? I paused, choosing my words carefully. It's based on reality. My children want a property they never helped purchase, never maintained, and only valued as an asset. They don't want a relationship with me. They want access to my resources. I'm simply acknowledging that reality and acting accordingly. Harold nodded. No further questions. My children testified next. Calvin went first, polished and confident. Our dad has always been difficult, he said. Even growing up, he was strict, demanding. We thought retirement would mellow him, but he's gotten worse. How so? Their attorney prompted. Constant calls, constant guilt trips, acting like we're obligated to drop everything for him. And the mountain house? He always said it was for all of us, that it was family property. Now he's taking it away because we couldn't visit enough. Harold's cross-examination was brief. Mr. Mercer, You borrowed $10,000 from your father for your real estate license. Is that correct? Calvin shifted. He offered. Did you pay it back? It was a gift. Did he say it was a gift? Pause. Not explicitly. Did you ever thank him? I don't remember. You don't remember thanking your father for $10,000? Calvin's jaw tightened. It was years ago. Harold let the silence hang. No further questions. Noah and Lydia's testimonies followed similar patterns. They painted me as demanding and irrational. Harold's cross-examinations revealed their entitlement. The hearing ended after 4 hours. The judge reviewed the evidence silently, then looked up. I'll issue a ruling within 2 weeks, he said. Until then, the current will stand as written. We filed out. In the hallway, Calvin tried to approach me. Harold stepped between us. No contact, Harold said firmly. Calvin's face flushed. This is insane. He's our father. Then perhaps you should have treated him like one, Harold said. We walked away, leaving them standing in the marble hallway. The 2 weeks waiting for the ruling felt like suspended time. I went through my routines, morning coffee, afternoon walks, evening reading. But underneath the calm surface, something was building. Not anxiety, not dread, anticipation. Harold called twice to check in. The courthouse called once to confirm my contact information. Otherwise, silence. I spent one afternoon at the mountain house, walking the property line. The fall colors had peaked, leaves brilliant red and gold against gray sky. I stood on the porch and tried to remember why I'd wanted this place. Family, connection, love, such simple hopes, such complete failure. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Dad, it's Noah, please, can we talk? I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed back, through lawyers only. This is ridiculous. We're family. Are we? I sent back. No response. The ruling arrived on a Wednesday morning. Harold called at 8. We won, he said simply. I sat down slowly. Everything? Everything. The judge ruled that you're of sound mind, that the property is yours to dispose of as you wish, and that your children have no legal claim to it. The will stands. What about their case? Dismissed with prejudice. They can't refile. I closed my eyes. What did the judge say? Harold paused. He said, and I quote, adult children are not entitled to their parents' assets simply by virtue of being related. Mr. Mercer has demonstrated sound reasoning for his decisions. The plaintiffs have demonstrated a pattern of entitlement that supports his position. Case dismissed. I felt something release in my chest, not triumph, not joy, relief. Thank you, Harold. Asher, he said gently. This is final now. They'll know within the hour. Are you prepared for that? I am. They won't take this well. I know. We hung up. I sat in the quiet apartment, watching the morning light creep across the floor. An hour later, my phone exploded. Calvin. You actually did it. You actually cut us out. Noah. How could you? Lydia. I hope you're happy alone. The messages came in rapid succession, anger and hurt pouring through the screen. I read them all. Then I typed a single message to the group chat. I gave you everything, money, support, love. You gave me dismissiveness and demands. This isn't punishment. This is consequence. You wanted the house but not the father. Now you have neither. I hit send and immediately left the group chat. Silence. I blocked all 3 numbers. More silence. I sat with my phone in my hand, feeling the weight of finality. This was it. The end of whatever remained of our relationship. I felt nothing but calm. That evening, I received a package. No return address. Inside, a framed photo from 15 years ago. My wife, me, and the 3 children at Christmas. Everyone smiling. A note attached. Remember when we were a family? L. I looked at the photo for a long time. Young faces, genuine smiles, before the drift, before the distance, before they stopped seeing me as a person. I set the photo face down in a drawer and closed it. The next few days were quiet. No calls, no messages, no contact. My children were processing, presumably, regrouping, moving on. I did the same. I called Evan and asked him to prepare the mountain house for one final visit. "Everything okay?" he asked. "It's over," I said. "The case is settled. I want to spend some time there before winter. I'll get it ready." That weekend, I drove up alone. The house was warm when I arrived, fire already burning in the fireplace. Evan had stocked the kitchen, opened the curtains, made the place welcoming. I sat on the porch as the sun set, watching the valley fill with shadow. The air was cold and clean. No city noise, no phone calls, no expectations, just silence. And for the first time in years, the silence felt like peace. I stayed at the mountain house for 2 weeks. No internet, no phone calls. Just me and the quiet. I spent the days hiking the property, fixing small things that needed repair, reading books I'd been meaning to finish for years. The nights I sat by the fire listening to the wind move through the trees. No one knew where I was. No one asked. On the 10th day, Evan stopped by with supplies. "You doing okay up here?" he asked, setting groceries on the kitchen counter. "Better than I have in a long time." He nodded slowly, studying me. "Your kids ever reach out?" "No, I blocked their numbers." "That's final then." "It was final the moment they sued me," I said. "This is just acknowledging reality." Evan left after an hour, promising to check back in a few days. I watched his truck disappear down the winding road, then went back to the silence. On the 13th day, Harold called. I'd kept his number unblocked for legal reasons. "Just checking in," he said, "making sure you're all right." "I'm fine. Better than fine." "Your children's attorney called. They're requesting one final meeting, face-to-face, just you and them." "No lawyers?" "That's what they're asking." I thought about it. "Why?" "They want closure, apparently. Or they're hoping you'll change your mind." "I won't." I told them that. "But the decision is yours." I watched a hawk circle over the valley, riding thermals in the cold air. "Tell them I'll meet them here," I said. "At the house. This Saturday at noon." "Are you sure?" "I'm sure. This property is at the center of everything. Let them see it one last time. Let them understand what they lost." "I'll set it up," Harold said. "But Asher, be careful. Emotions will be high." "I'm counting on it." We hung up. I spent the next 2 days preparing, not just the house, but myself. This would be the final confrontation, the last words. After this, nothing. Saturday arrived cold and clear. I built a fire in the fireplace, made coffee, and waited on the porch. At 11:45, I saw their car coming up the road. Calvin was driving, Noah in the passenger seat, Lydia in back. They parked and got out slowly, looking at the house like they'd never seen it before. Maybe they hadn't, not really. To them, it had always been an asset, not a place. I stood and walked to the porch railing. "Thank you for coming," I said. Calvin looked exhausted. Noah's face was tight. Lydia had been crying. "Can we come in?" Calvin asked. "The porch is fine." They climbed the steps and stood awkwardly, not sitting. The silence stretched. Finally, Noah spoke. "Dad, we need to talk about this." "About what?" "About everything. The will, the lawsuit, the house." "The lawsuit is over," I said calmly. "The will is final. The house is no longer any of your concern." "How can you say that?" Lydia's voice cracked. "This place is part of our family." "No," I said. "This place was supposed to be part of our family. You made it something else." Calvin stepped forward. "Dad, we know we messed up. We know we took you for granted. But this cutting us out completely. It's extreme. Is it? I leaned against the railing. Let me ask you something. When was the last time any of you called me just to talk? Not to ask for something. Not to make plans for this house. Just to check in. To see how I was doing. Silence. I don't remember either, I said. Because it never happened. Not once in 3 years. We were busy, Noah said weakly. Everyone's busy. But you make time for what matters. And I stopped mattering to you long before I changed my will. Lydia wiped her eyes. We're here now. That has to count for something. You're here because you lost something you wanted, not because you realized you lost someone you loved. The words hung in the cold air. Calvin's face hardened. So that's it? You're just done with us? You were done with me first, I said quietly. I'm just acknowledging it. This is about the money, isn't it? Noah said suddenly. The money we didn't pay back. That's what this is really about. It was never about the money, I said. It was about respect, about being seen, about mattering. We do see you, Lydia insisted. No, you see an obligation, a source of resources, an elderly parent who needs to stay out of your way until you need something. Calvin shook his head. You're twisting everything, making us into villains. I don't need to make you anything. Your actions speak clearly enough. The hawk from earlier circled overhead, crying out in the cold air. So what now? Noah asked. You're really going to let this property go to strangers instead of family? The Conservation Trust isn't strangers. They're people who will actually value this place, unlike you. We value it, Calvin said angrily. You value what you can take from it. That's not the same thing. Lydia's tears came harder now. I can't believe you hate us this much. I don't hate you, I said, and meant it. I'm just done pretending our relationship is something it's not. You wanted me out of your lives except when convenient. I'm simply honoring that wish permanently. The silence that followed was absolute. Finally, Calvin spoke, voice hollow. Is there anything we can say? Anything we can do? I thought about it honestly, looked at their faces, saw the pain there, real and raw. But underneath the pain, I also saw the calculation, the hope that the right words could still salvage their inheritance. No, I said. There's nothing. This is done. Calvin nodded slowly. Then I guess we're done here. They turned to leave. At the steps, Lydia looked back. I hope you're happy, she said, all alone in your precious house. I am, I said simply. They drove away. I stood on the porch until their car disappeared, then went inside and locked the door. The fire was still burning, the coffee still warm. And the silence felt perfect.